You're listening to the Build From Here podcast, a podcast for the hunter and sporting dog enthusiast alike. Join your host, Joshua Parvin, as he interviews retriever owners and discusses the trials and triumphs that lead to a great gun dog. Build From Here is presented by Cornerstone Gundog Academy, online resources to help you train your retriever. Now, your host, Joshua Parvin.
Welcome to the Build From Here podcast. On this episode, it is my great honor to be bringing a longtime CGA member on. And whenever we get members that have been with us for this long, it just fires me up because it's, I think back to this time period when people were getting involved, where Cornerstone was at the time and compared to where we're at now. And I'll just say we definitely didn't have things together then. We probably still don't have everything together perfectly now, but definitely not then. There were so many flaws and everything, but it's people like this that mean so much to us because they're the foundation. They're the building blocks. They're the ones who supported us, when we're at the bottom, and now they continue to support us. And that just speaks volumes to me. It's just a great honor to be supported by people like that. And everybody like that has a special place in my heart, just like every Cornerstone member. But anyways, I'm excited to be introducing you to Cornerstone member Chad Batton. He's a great member, again, been with us since July 4th of 2017. So very early on, we started in 2017 publicly. We launched in 2016, the fall, November, around the Black Friday time period. We launched that to friends and family, and then kind of rolled into that public launch there. But he's been with us that long, and he's a great story, and I can't wait to share it with you. So without further ado, Chad, welcome aboard. We're glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and excited to do this with you guys and kind of tell my story of my time through Cornerstone. So I'm excited.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, let's, as we always like to do, let's go back kind of pre-Cornerstone. I love to go to the roots because I think one common value we all share in Cornerstone is we're passionate. We're passionate about waterfowl hunting. We're passionate about our dogs. They're not just a tool. They're a family member. And but all of that starts somewhere, and I want to know where that started for you. What's kind of your earliest memory of hunting? What got you into hunting? Was it a deer hunt? Was it a squirrel hunt? Where did it all begin? If you have your earliest memory of hunting.
So my earliest memory doesn't go back too far. So I grew up just outside of Indianapolis, and I was more of a city boy. I was into sports and things like that. I had no hunting growing up. Nobody in my family. My dad was one of 5 boys, 4 farmers, had plenty of land, but nobody hunted, and it just wasn't there for me. So it was in college. I met my wife at Indiana University. Go Hoosiers! And and that was really, she lived down here in southern Indiana. Is where she grew up, and her family had just moved back to their family farm. And her uncle was a big hunter, deer and waterfowl. And so towards the end of college, I kind of decided, man, it might be kind of fun to go out deer hunting. So I took a couple trips and drove down here and hunted a couple times my first year. Never did see or kill anything. And I think I went the second year and never killed anything. And I was pretty discouraged, obviously. But then the next year, we had graduated college. I had taken a job down here, and so I moved on down, and I still remember, we laugh about it to this day. I was out deer hunting and had a 8-point buck, not real big, walked by, and I shot and killed it. And I text my wife. I'm like, hey, I just killed a buck. And she's like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, I did. Like I said, but I'm going to need you to come help me. And he's like, seriously? I'm like, well, your uncle's gone. He drove a UPS truck at night. And I was like, I'm going to need some help back here. So I need you to get the tractor and drive it back here. And at the time, she was laying down in bed with a migraine. And next thing I know, she shows up and she's on the tractor. And she shows up out there and she's got her Ugg boots on. And she's got these mittens on with fur around the top of it. And I'm like, oh, man, this is not going to be good, And so this is something I'd never done. I'd never even seen it done. And she's like, "What are we going to do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to have you hold my phone and we're going to watch a YouTube video on how to do this." And so
Nice.
we would piece it together, and she would hold the phone and I'd watch a little bit of the YouTube video, and I'd do what I needed to do, and we'd push play a little bit longer, and eventually, um, it was done. But yeah, that was my first experience right there of that, and we still laugh about it to this day that she'd
That's
come out there in
awesome.
her UGG boots and her furry mittens and stuff, and the mittens were ruined. They had blood all over them and everything. So that was my first experience hunting,
That's
and
that's pretty
it
unique.
good, yeah.
I've never heard of a story like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Did y'all
it's
have?
something we
Did
still
you?
laugh about for sure. Um,
Oh yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
so from
I
there, I remember I'd go to some, Ducks Unlimited banquets and stuff, just because they were a good time, and my wife's uncle, he was involved in them, and, we'd go to them and stuff, and we'd talk about waterfowl hunting and stuff, and I'm like, "Man, I there's just no way I'm getting up that early to go sit in the cold. I'm not doing that," and I thought he was crazy. And, so then it was, I believe, November of 2015. Um, I decided, I'll go with you. I'll go. So, we went out there, and, I can still see that wood duck flying in, and
mm,
it was coming right at us, and I swung up and to the left, and I shot it, and it flew over and landed on the other side of the trees, and I was like, "Okay, this is pretty fun." And, we ended up killing 4 birds that day. I killed a hen wood duck and a gadwall, and,
nice.
that was the end of it. I was hooked, and it
Wow.
hasn't stopped since.
I could tell when you told me that when you first went duck hunting. I'm like, man, you got bit hard because we're
Yeah,
by July 4th, 2017. Here you are training your own duck hunting dog.
yeah. I
Wow.
got bit hard, and, so,
So you fell in love with the duck hunting, maybe even more so than the deer hunting, and just wanted to
absolutely,
go
I
full
haven't deer
bore.
hunted since. Yeah.
Nice.
So, a lot of
Wow.
people ask me, "Oh, yeah, you deer hunt and all that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." After I went duck hunting and spent that winter duck hunting, obviously, the ability to stand up, walk around, eat, have some
Yeah.
coffee, talk, have conversations and stuff like that, it just deer hunting was gone for me. I didn't see a reason to do that anymore. And obviously, I didn't grow up deer hunting. If I had a long history of it or something like that, I probably would have stuck with it. But it just it didn't compare to the waterfowl world. That's for sure.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So when you were, for like a lot of first time waterfowl hunters, and I think back to my time, what was that experience like? I mean, obviously you remember seeing that first wood duck come through. I mean, I feel like a lot of us, especially if you're deer hunter first and you become a waterfowl, we're all reluctant, thinking, man, why is this going to be fun? Just shooting at a bird flying through the air.
Mm.
But then you get out there and all the different sights, the sounds, hearing the wings, all that, man, it gets you. It's something that really gets after you. Was there anything that stood out to you specifically from that hunt? That was it just all of it together, the camaraderie that made you fall in love with it? What was kind of just
Yeah,
some standout
absolutely.
points?
It just kind of all fell together. It was just a perfect storm. Seeing those birds come in and seeing them work, and watching him use a call, and how he could call at these birds, and then when obviously I didn't have any of that hunt where you get them backpedaling, and they're locked up, and it's like, man, this is just awesome. But it's more than just the hunting aspect too. It's just being out there in nature, and waking up with the sun and waking up with the birds, and just seeing all that. And where we hunt is a fish and wildlife area. I'm lucky it's 5 miles away from the house. They got 1,800 acres of water and 8,000 acres of land to use, and so we go over there and hunt, and I can be there in no time. But it's just the bald eagles, flying over, and it's like I said, waking up with the birds, seeing the sunrises in the fall, seeing the sun hitting the leaves, and that's things that a lot of people don't get to see, and that really that's as much of the hunt as the actual hunting part of it.
Build From Here is brought to you by Retriever Training Supply. Build unforgettable moments with your retriever and equip yourself with the tools to create a lifetime of joy and discovery with your dog. Retriever Training Supply offers the tools you need to train your retriever with confidence. To shop now, visit retrievertrainingsupply.com so that you can strengthen your bond, inspire new adventures, and train with confidence, knowing you have the right tools for your retriever. Yeah. Oh man, I love it. Makes me want to go out right now.
Yeah. And not too far away.
I know. I mean, goodness, it's literally a week or two. It's so close. Where did the dog come into the picture? Was your uncle a dog guy, or where did the dogs come into the picture?
Yeah. So shortly after that year, I grew up with a chocolate lab. I had a couple chocolate labs growing up. Never hunting dogs or anything, just pets. And I can remember old Sadie. She carried a hard softball in her mouth. She slept with it in her mouth, and her teeth were like grinded down where that ball sat in her mouth, and it just sat there perfectly. And that girl, she would retrieve a ball as long as you would throw it. I promise. And so I thought, I'm gonna go get a chocolate lab because I'm duck hunting now, and I'd love to see a dog work. At this time, I hadn't seen one. He didn't have a dog. In the past, he had a Chesapeake, and I don't know specifically the training level, if there was any training done. I've heard stories of carrying stones in his pocket, and they'd shoot a bird and throw a rock out there, and the dog swim out to the rock, and then they'd wind it, and he'd just go pick the bird up. So I think that was the extent of training on his dog. But so he, at the time, he didn't have a dog or anything, and I thought, I'm gonna get a dog and see what we can do here. So I picked up Nellie. She was a chocolate lab and a German short hair mix. It was just an oopsie that I had found. And I was one of the German short hair too. And unfortunately, she had a lot more German short hair to her than she did retriever. So that kind of kicked off my journey. I still thought at the time I'm going to try training her and stuff. And I had no experience, obviously, new to the hunting world and stuff. And I was trying to, look through YouTube and stuff, like all the resources we have today. And I came across a guy, Cody Bellinger, and he had a series that he was starting called Training with Gypsy. And it was kind of similar to CGA, but he was just doing it on YouTube. And I thought, I'm going to do some of this. So I started working with my dog and stuff, and she did all right and stuff. But like I said, she had a lot more German short hair to her than she did retriever. So that series, I don't think lasted too long, but that series led me to Southern Oak because he had gotten Gypsy through Barton some way, somehow. So I had found Southern Oak Kennels, and I started following them, and I was like, man, these dogs are pretty amazing, And I followed them for a while, and my first dog, she didn't quite work out. She picked up a bird or two, but she was very short hair, and she didn't handle the cold well and all that type of stuff. So I thought, I'm gonna get a Southern Oak dog. So started talking to my wife and stuff, and at the time, we had one kid already. He was about a year old, and we knew we were planning on 2 kids and stuff. And she's like, I think we need to wait until we have that second kid so that he can grow up with the dog as well. And, so all the kids can have the bond with the pup as well and stuff. I was like, okay. I said, well, we're planning on having one here, in the next year or so. How about I go ahead and put a deposit down? So she's like, hey, that's
Nice.
fine, if you want to put a deposit down. So
The art of the deal right there.
yeah,
I like it.
so December of 2018, I put a deposit down on my dog for 2021. It was a 3-year wait. And at this time, through Southern Oak, I'd already found CGA and, signed up for you guys. Because I needed to prepare for the next 3 years before this dog came home, So I was trying to gain the knowledge and everything now at the time, and before the puppy came home. So finally, she came home in October of 2021, and then I trained her, and I met some great people. Were my good buddies, you know him, Kevin Wright. Uh,
Absolutely.
we got litter mates, and I met him. I reached out to him. He's on CGA, and I saw it. We were litter mates, so I reached out and said, "Hey, I think we got siblings here." And to this day, we still we talk every day, and we
Wow.
talk about our dogs. And we took a trip last year, hunted down in southeast Arkansas, and I'm hoping to make a trip down there to his hunting club this year and hunt the girls together. And so I've met some great people just through this and through that, and it all comes back to the community. But so I finished her up, and it's a long dog story, but so
No, I love it,
I
man. This
finished
is
her
awesome.
up, and I had bit the bug so hard in dog training, and I loved it so much. I was like, "What am I going to do now?" And so I started hounding my wife. I'm like, "Hey, look, like I think I need another dog now." And she's like, "What?" I'm like, I just really think I need another one because I need to start another dog, and I just love doing it." And she saw the passion that I had for it, and she knew that I loved doing it. And I was outside every day. I was home with my dogs and stuff, and so finally I said, "I need a black one because I got brown and yellow already. I need a black one to go with it." And so one day she come, and I after months of asking about it, she finally said, "Hey, either you need to buy this black dog or I'm buying a new car." And I was like, "All right, done deal." And so
Done.
I reached out to a guy, and I put my deposit down on my black dog, Belle, and she came home in July of 2023. So that's how I ended up with my dogs that I got in the house. So it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, I love that story, man. That's
Yeah,
timing is everything. You've got that figured out.
absolutely. Yeah. And that's,
Oh man.
but I bit the bug in training world so hard, and I fell in love with it. I really developed a passion. When I was young, I was really involved in sports, and to this day, I still hold a really competitive edge to myself. And so this allowed me to kind of get back into competition and challenging myself, um, to make myself better, to make the dogs better. And that's kind of where this has taken me is to help my competitive nature. Um, so
I love that, man. Well, let's go to where you got the first dog, some challenges. It wasn't what you were looking for. And
right,
that happens with a lot of people, right? Like, sometimes we don't know fully what we're looking for. And so we just get started, and then maybe we get the dog or that we want, maybe we don't. If you don't know what to choose. Then let's start with a training journey where you started falling in love with it. Let's go to the first dog, actually, starting with the YouTube series.
Mhm.
Um, is that where you started to fall in love with it? You clearly you had enough intrigue after that you're like, let's go further.
Yeah,
Let's get this course. Let's start trying to learn to train this dog, and then let's get another dog that we can actually turn into
absolutely.
something.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I started to develop a love for it, and I saw little things in her, and at the time, I was so raw, I didn't really know a
Yeah.
whole lot. And I'm trying to follow this little YouTube series, and uh, a lot of it is exactly how CGA starts out with your basics and your fundamentals, and building that good base to build off of. And she did fine with it. She was a good dog and stuff, but I started to see things in her, and I'm like, "Hey, this, at the time, I didn't know genetics. I just
Yeah.
thought you could go get a dog and make it what you want it to be. I didn't understand all that at the time. And then I thought, you know what? I found CGA and stuff, and I thought I need to go find a dog with the genetics, with everything that is there. And that's where I found Barton in Southern Oak, and
Wow.
reached out to him, and got on a litter from SOK Fox Ridge with Miles. And I knew when she came home, I knew it was different.
Yeah.
at 8 weeks old, you can tell this dog's different. And genetics
And you're
matter.
prepared. You've already had a little experience. You're
Right.
taking it even more serious.
Right.
You even paid for the videos,
Yeah.
jumping all in.
Yeah.
What was kind of the big factor for you? You just really wanted it to turn out and just give the dog all that it deserves. What was kind of like, hey, I need to, not just use YouTube. I need to go all in here.
Yeah.
What was the determining factor there? What
It
made
kind
you?
of goes back to, like I said, my competitive nature and failing, the fear of failure.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's the fear of failure. And that's not something I like to do. I don't want to fail at anything I do. Um, and I knew I had to get better. So when I found CGA and I started kind of watching the course and seeing this, I'm like, hey, I think this is what I need right here. They're gonna teach me how to be a handler, and through that, I can teach the dog to be the dog that I want. So
makes
I
sense.
took the leap. I took the leap and spent the money, and it's probably the best money I've ever spent. Right there, it was honestly, I think it was the fail, sorry, fear of failure,
Yeah.
and that's not something
Oh,
I like
that's a
to do.
real thing, right? I mean,
Yeah,
because
yeah, 100%.
you had a situation that didn't turn out exactly like you want, but now
Right,
it really is bigger. Like you've invested a lot in this dog, right?
right.
The dogs aren't inexpensive, and the
And that's
potential that
exactly
the
right.
dog has, right? Because you said genetics.
Mhm.
We all know if you're buying a well-bred dog, the potential that's sitting there. I've heard a lot of people say it this way to me, like, you know, I just want to make sure I do justice. I want to do right by this dog
Right,
because I know that it can do it. I just want to make sure that I'm able to do it.
right, and these dogs, when you pay for the genetics and they're bred to do this, it's all in there. You just have to unlock it and find a way to communicate with them and,
Yeah.
teach them that, "Hey, you guys got this in you. Let's just refine it." And, so I wanted, like you said, to do the dog justice, and I was scared to fail. So I, bought CGA and like I said, I put in the work, to find success.
That's awesome. Where along the way did you meet Kevin? How long did it take for you guys to connect up and build a friendship?
Yeah, so, right after it wasn't long after, I don't believe, that we picked up, I kinda reached out to him. I seen him in CGA, and I was like, "Hey, we got litter mates and stuff," and right then, it took off. Hey, every day talking. Hey, how's your pup doing? Hey, what are you working on? Are you seeing any challenges? All this, and then it came to fall. It'd been, I believe, the first members weekend, a fall members weekend, or the last fall members weekend you guys had. It was the last fall members
Hmm.
weekend you guys had. I said, "Huh," we talked about it and we decided to both go. And he rented this little place down there called the Tin Can that we stayed in, and
Nice.
yeah. So we met up down there in Nashville. I'm in Southern Indiana, so he's not too far, a couple of 3 hours or so. And we met up down there with Kevin and Ben, and we kind
Yes.
of all drove down uh, in a convoy and followed each other down there. And so we went to Members Weekend that time and met a lot of great people, and that really, I think, kicked off the friendship and everything. And I'm honored to call him a good friend. There's been plenty of times I've relied on him to in situations, and he's contacted me in situations. I've been to Nashville and met up with him and stuff. So we really have a good friendship, probably as close as an Indiana Hoosier and a Kentucky Wildcat can get.
Oh, Kevin's laughing as he's listening to this right now.
Yeah,
I know it. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's one of the things we didn't think about when starting Cornerstone. Like, we just started out thinking, yeah, hey, let's help people train their dogs, right? Because it's a real
right.
thing, it's a real problem, and people aren't getting the results they need. And so we wanted to help people do that. But one thing we didn't foresee was the whole community aspect.
Mhm.
Um, the hear stories like this, to hear how you guys have built that connection, strong friendship. I mean, that is so cool because that
Yeah,
carries on for years and generations.
absolutely.
And like, I think that's, to me, that's one of my favorite parts here about what we get to do and is connect with people and help other people connect.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I talk to people about Cornerstone, I'm like, the biggest thing is the community, and use it. If you use the community, there's answers out there for everything. And everyone within the CGA community is great about jumping on to help you um, in any way they can. If you're facing a situation, I'm not sure how many members you guys have now, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that has faced that situation, and they're going to give you a different angle to look at. And, that could be what solves your issue. So,
Yeah, 100%. Going back to one of the things I want to go on some now, dive back into your dog training journey of actual, let's get into some training stuff.
yeah,
The fear of failure, you decided to jump in. We want to fix that. Now, even with the course, there's still going to be challenges pop up. Like you said, hey, if there's something pops up, you can ask in the community. But the reality of training a dog is there's going to be days where you look at this dog and think, I don't know if this is going to work out right. Let's go to maybe one of the challenges that was kind of that you faced that you were able to overcome. And I would love to just talk through that, because part of what we do here at Cornerstone too is be authentic. Let's be real, man. What did you face? How did we overcome that? What
right.
was some of the big lessons that you were able to overcome?
Yeah. So, when I first started, I thought with Charlie, she was the first dog I put through CGA. And I thought, you know what, like, this is simple. This is easy, And it was about the time I reached fetch, hold, release. And that seems to be the number one sticker on everybody. That's one of the key things you see every time you get on. Hey, I've reached fetch, hold, release, and my dog won't hold it. And so I remember I was
It's a defining
approaching.
moment, because it's like, oh my gosh, if my dog doesn't hold
Right.
this, is this all for nothing? And then everybody
And if
panics.
you listen to other podcasts and you read other books and stuff like that, like you said, it's a defining moment in your training right there. And you don't want to do it wrong. And it can be scary. And honestly, it can be scary. And I think that was the biggest thing leading up to it is I was worried about coming into it. And so I remember picking up the phone and calling Miles, and I'm like, hey, I'm reaching fetch, hold, release. And I seriously considered sending her off to him to get through that part of the training, because I was worried about messing it up.
Yeah.
And he kind of talked me through it, and he's like, it's not that big of a deal. These dogs, Charlie, I could throw anything, she's gonna pick it up and hold it and carry it. And so it was there. And it goes back to, again, communication. I had to find a way to communicate to her that, hey, this is what I want you to do with it. You have it there. You already do it. Let's just refine it and make it a little better. And so I took off on it. And, honestly, it was, like I said, I think it was my body language, my worriness that she fed off
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
I think she fed off of that. And dogs feed off of your body energy, things like that. So when we would approach a session, I could feel myself start to get frustrated. Those first few
Mm.
reps, and you're trying to get her to bite on it, and there's nothing there. She's like, what do you want me to do? Throw it on the ground. I'll run over and pick it up. But when you're holding it in front of their face and I want you to reach out and, bite it, and they're not doing it, and instantly the frustration starts to kick in. And it's easy to get frustrated with these dogs. And I know I've heard Barton say it many times, and it's one of the best lessons I've heard is when you start to get frustrated, just stop, walk
Yeah.
away, and come back another day. Because when you start to get frustrated and your dog starts to feel that frustration, all you're going to do is, one, you're going to do something you don't want to do. Two, you're going to
Yeah.
create that anxiety within the dog that is going to lead to other issues down the road, and you're going to end up going backwards. So, when you start to feel that frustration, just walk away. Come back later, come back tomorrow. Your dog is going to be fine not training for a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. We know how they retain information. So, when I approached that was my biggest challenge was, fetch, hold, release, um, and just slowing down through it,
Yeah.
enjoying the process of fetch, hold, release. It is a process. The whole program's a process. and you have to approach it as a process. I think a lot of people get caught up in seeing these pro trainers and stuff, and they whip dogs out in no time, and they think that's what they need to do. That's not what you need to do. You need to enjoy the process, take your time, and I think when everybody can do that and you enjoy it and you have a good time doing it, it leads to a much better dog.
Wow. That's
So,
pretty profound.
yeah,
That's
so eventually we
it's
worked through
crazy.
it and I took my time with it and stuff and like I said, communication and consistency, once that was all there, and she figured it out, we just flew right through it. So,
Wow. It's I'm glad you brought all that up. I mean, I don't think I could say it any better. But we will kind of dive into that. Like, when people face problems,
right,
a lot of times we fixate on the problem and then we just keep trying to hammer out and fix the problem.
right.
And sometimes, and I might go as far to say as oftentimes that makes the problem worse. Like
Yeah.
you said, taking that step back. I like how you phrase that. Learning to enjoy that part of the process, enjoy the challenges you're facing instead of viewing it as a task. It now becomes just a way of life. Hey, this is part of the process. We're going to enjoy that.
Mhm.
And would you say that when all that shifted is kind of your mindset shifted is when things kind of breezed on and then y'all cruise right
Absolutely,
on through?
absolutely. And I mean, that's not the only time I found myself frustrated or, anything like that, and,
Yeah.
um, you know, I I listen to a lot of podcasts, I read books, things like that, and try to take things from many people, and that's what like you said, just that relaxation, and that's when it all kinda flipped, like, "Hey, this is a process, relax, enjoy it," because like we said earlier, I'm not doing it to rush a dog through. I'm not doing it as a career or anything like that. I'm doing it as a hobby to enjoy myself, to enjoy being outdoors with the dogs. Um, so that was kind of my thinking of it all.
I love it. Yeah, I would say, well, I want to pull out something else you said there just for the people listening, because you just said so many good things that are really just crucial to like being truly successful with dog training. One of the other things I want to pull out is the mindset component. You said that the dogs are going to feed off of you. They're going to feel what you do. And so stepping back to focus on enjoying is key, but that gets down to what you're thinking about. If you're thinking about, you said another thing, if you keep training when you're frustrated, you're going to do something you shouldn't do. And where does frustration come from? That comes from what you're thinking about, right? You're looking at this dog like you should be holding this. Why are you not getting this? You got everything else so well. Why is this a problem? And you start questioning and asking all these questions and start to get frustrated. And it comes back to mentally, a big thing that we try to talk about a lot is mentally making sure that your head is in the right space. I don't have a problem with questions or being frustrated, but the season and the time that you do it is important. If it's during the training session, that's a no-go. You got to have your mind right
Mhm.
during the training session.
Yeah.
You can be frustrated as mess after the training session. Once a dog is in its kennel and you're away from it and it's not going to sense your frustration, sure, go ahead, be frustrated then. Pull your hair out then.
Right.
Don't do it in the session. Don't let
Yeah.
on to that. And that all, for me, I don't know about for you, and I'd love to know some ways that you navigate around it. But for me, that comes down to focusing on what I'm thinking about in the training session. So rather than asking the question, man, why are you not getting this? I'm thinking, okay, what angle can I approach with this dog to maybe help it take the next step? I'm not even focused on getting the completion of the whole behavior, right, that is causing the frustration. I'm just focused on, can I get a step in the right direction? And if it's fetch, hold, and release, and the dog is not wanting to grab the bumper, can I at least get the dog to sniff the bumper, right? That's what I start
Right.
thinking upon, and that becomes my focus. And then, boom, we got that. Then I move on to the next thing. And I have found that drastically speeds up things up for me. But for you, along that process, it sounded like community, miles, and reaching out to others was a big component and realizing, okay, maybe everything is okay, like we're going to be okay. I guess what for you was the big concern, the frustration, it comes back to that fear of failure. Like you come to this defining moment, you're like, what if I fail? What if this dog doesn't work out? You're even considering sending the dog off. Was there anything that you can recall that was a big perspective shift specifically, or was there any things that when you're in the training session, you started thinking differently? Kind of like I was just saying, or maybe it was what I was just saying. I'm just curious to hear from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to kind of what you were saying, and through reading and things like that, you have to understand how the dog learns, and so when that frustration starts to hit, it's because the dog's not performing the way you want it to perform, but that's not the dog's fault. More than likely, it's because you haven't adequately taught the skill yet. Have I not adequately taught the skill, or is it due to the distraction level for the skill level that we're on right now? So you have to kind of break it down. Can I simplify the skill? And I think that's kind of what you were saying is when you're in a process and the dog won't bite the bumper. Hey, can I get a nose touch? So you're starting to break it down. You're starting to simplify things to find that win, to get success. And that's kind of what you got to do to help your frustration level is find success. Because when you find success, you're not frustrated, right? And so you got to simplify the behavior, or you got to take the distraction away. If the skill is there, more than likely the distraction's too high for where we are in the training program. So usually you can navigate between either simplifying it or removing distractions to make sure that the behavior of the dog is there and teaching it the proper way. So
That's
doing
awesome.
that is going to bring your frustration level down. And like you said, when you get done with your training session, I video myself a lot, and I want to go back and watch and look at things. And you might pick up on something. Hey, that's why right there that she did this. Hey, that's why she did that. And you can look at it and be like, man, that was my fault. I got frustrated with the dog, but that was my fault. And so you can be frustrated at yourself later, but there's no reason during training to be frustrated. And if it is, like I said, just walk away. Your dog, that dog, I can tell you 100% of the time, that dog wants to do what you want it to do. It doesn't matter what the skill is. That dog wants to do what you want it to do. But the number one thing between me and that dog is communication. Okay. That dog doesn't understand what I'm telling it to do. It doesn't understand the English language. It associates a word with a skill, and eventually that skill is associated with that word. So it wants to do whatever it is you want it to do. It's you gotta communicate it and find a way to communicate that skill to that dog with that word so that it can learn.
That's cool, man. Did you ever think you'd know this much about dog training?
No.
I
And
love it, man.
it's
You're
funny.
laying the gauntlet down. I mean, you're giving some good advice here.
I
This is
meet
awesome.
I meet random people on the streets and start talking about dogs. I'm like, man, you really just opened up a can right there. Like, we're gonna be here a while and stuff. So I just love it, and I love every aspect of it. It keeps me learning, and I continue to pick up a book here, or pick up a book there, or listen to podcasts and things like that, because I feel like if I'm not learning or continuing to learn or shape my program, then I'm doing a disservice to the dog. Because I got to make myself better, and the only way to make myself better is to keep learning. So uh, I love it.
That's awesome, man. I'm proud of you for what you're saying here. That makes me, feel good about,
Yeah,
helping you along the journey. Obviously, we're not the only
absolutely.
reason you've been successful. The community, the people around you, that's a big part. There's so many components that have to come together. But just hearing what you're saying and the advice you're sharing, I know people out there listening to this, I know they should be able to appreciate it. And sometimes you don't know until you just start doing what you're doing. Then you realize how profound the things you just said are and how impactful they are, because they really do make a big difference.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go on to the next phase in the journey, in the story. You get breakthrough, you crush the barrier, you're now on your way. When was kind of one of those first moments, especially contrasting to your first dog, you're like, wow, I really think we've got something here. Like, we're really moving, you know, where I want to be. Like, we're getting close to getting to where I want to be. was there a specific moment that stood out to you with the second dog here?
I mean, there's not really a specific moment, but I know once we got past fetch, hold, release work, and we moved into doing some handling and things like that, I was like, okay, this this is fun now,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love the puppy stage. I love the transition work, all that. I love that phase because it's your reward and success is seen dang near every day. You see a dog learning and picking up, and you're like, man, this is awesome. Once you get more advanced and stuff, it might be a month or 2 months down the road before all of a sudden it clicks on that dog, and you're like, okay, and so your success has become less and less, but, yeah, I think once I got into handling and stuff like that and started to see those light bulbs clicking on for her and kinda she's thinking, "Okay, like, this is fun." And, she's a high-powered dog, as you can probably imagine from Kevin's dog. You've
Oh,
seen this
yeah.
Mabel a lot. They are a lot alike, and, so she is a girl that wants to go, she wants to work, and so when I got her out and was able to start stretching her out and doing some things, she really started to flourish. And I remember there was a time I reached out to Miles. I'm like, hey, like, this just doesn't seem to be working. And he's like, well, think of it like this. You're doing something that is monotonous with a high powered dog that uh think of it as when you were playing sports and the season just started and you have a month and a half of practice and you don't ever get to play a game. And you just gotta practice, practice, practice. You want to play a game, right? And so these dogs are like, okay, after 2 weeks of doing the same thing, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, so I figured out with her the best thing to do was to kind of keep moving and continue to keep kind of refining the previous things, but to kind of keep moving because it kept her mind going and kind of kept her mind fresh. And so that seemed to be what really worked for her because she was a lot of dog and she wanted to go. And it kept her going and kind of thinking she was playing the game rather than just practicing all the time. So um but definitely getting into handling and stuff, that was when I seen her like, okay, this is gonna be fun. And, I thought the same thing.
I love that. And, I'm glad you answered that question. That was fantastic. But also, you just said something else there I kind of want to unpack a little more is the keeping moving thing.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times this isn't just a journey to see if your dog is going to turn out. I think this is a journey for us as trainers. Like, do I have what it takes? And a lot of times, sometimes we doubt ourselves, or because especially if you've never done it before, we downplay it, we question ourselves too much, and we hold the dog back. When in reality, as you said, I
Right.
found that if I kept the dog moving forward, that things went better. And
Yeah.
I think the reason we hold the dog back at times is not because we don't think the dog is good enough. We start to question, are we good enough? Am I doing
Yeah.
a good enough job? Because we don't want to move too fast because we don't want to
Yeah.
miss something. Um, so you just said, I just wanted to highlight that because that was a good
Yeah, that I mean,
thing you said there.
and it's cliche, everybody says, "Train the dog in front of you." And, that was what I found worked best for my dog. It's not gonna work best for everybody, but I found that was what was going to work best for her. She was a dog that wanted to go and wanted to move, and so I found that if I continue to work forward, I could continue to improve the skills previously taught because the way the system's built up that you guys have done a nice job of building where it builds on top of each other and each skill builds on top of each other. So even though you're moving forward, you're still working on those previous skills that are still there. And yeah, I mean, like I said, every dog's different. My second dog, Belle, she come along. She was a lot less fiery. She was a very soft dog. Charlie is absolutely the most hard-headed dog. And so, they are
You gotta love
complete
those
opposites.
hard-headed dogs.
Yeah, they are complete opposites of each other, and, it's been fun. That I'm glad that's how it ended up too, with them being complete opposites, because it's helping me as a trainer learn how to train different types of dogs, and, so, I mean, I'm glad I had the high-powered dog before I had the soft dog because I think if I had the soft and slower dog first, that high-powered dog would have come along and it would have really shook me. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did. But
That's awesome, man. This is just this is incredible. I'm loving your stories, man, and they're just so powerful. Let's go to the first. Okay, so you did the handling. The light bulbs are clicking. Let's go to when it probably really clicked. The first few hunts or so. Let's talk about that experience. What was that like? Was
yeah,
it a challenge? Was it awesome? Like, what happened?
it was awesome. So as you can imagine, here in Southern Indiana, we don't have the best duck hunting. I mean, it's just not. We don't have very many birds. Back in the day, from the way my wife's uncle talks, they had quite a few birds come through the area, and hunting was a lot better. So I still remember the first day. We drove over to Glendale. There was 21 parties there that day, which is a pretty good number for there, and we drew 18th out of 21 parties. And
Wow.
luckily, we picked a spot that we kind of knew that tends to hold birds. And I knew this was Charlie's first hunt, and I thought, man, if I could I hope we can put a few birds in her mouth, just to do her justice. So we we get in that boat and we start heading out, and Glendale is full of tree stumps. And
Mm.
thankfully, he has been driving that lake for probably as many years as I've been alive, and he knows his way around it, and it's really impressive. However, I think he was sitting in the back of the boat and he couldn't see the guy in the front of the boat, and it was so foggy that you couldn't see anything. So there were no trees to help guide yourself. And
Mm.
so we
Yeah,
start
that's
going out.
poor visibility right there. Wow.
Very, very. And so we start going out, and we're driving, and he's driving where he thinks he's going. And he's like, well, it should be kind of over here. And so I pulled up my phone. Thank goodness for cell phones these days. I pulled up my phone and I was like, Jay, we're going the complete opposite way. We were going north and we should have been going south, and we had got spun around. And so I pulled out my phone and I pulled up the compass, and we navigated with the compass to get to our spot. And so we got to our spot and we got set up and stuff. And it was shortly after shooting light. And and I love a good foggy hunt, keeps the birds nice and low, and keeps them in there, and it's better hiding for you. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the teal, they wanted back in this cove we were in, and they started buzzing in. And I mean,
Ooh.
they came one after another. And I remember that first retrieve, we knocked one down, and she sat over there, and I released her, and she took off, and she went out there and she picked it up and come right back. And I thought, okay, you know, the monkey's off the shoulder here now. And I thought, okay.
Wow.
So the first few retrieves and stuff, I was focused on her, and making sure she was doing what she needed to do. And she was ready. She was 100% ready. She picked up a couple cripples. I remember she had a couple cripples, something she had never seen before. Um, and it was funny to watch, that first few times that bird dives on that dog, and they're like, whoa, and they pick their head up and spin around like, where'd that thing go? So that was fun to watch. Um, End up picking up 15 birds that day. And
Wow.
it was the best hunt
Wow.
I had ever had at Glendale. And that was her very first
Wow.
hunt. And man, I couldn't have been more proud of her. The guys I was hunting with were extremely proud of her, to the point that now my wife's uncle tells my wife that if anything ever happens to us, make sure that she gets the dogs. So uh, yeah,
Wow.
we were
Wow.
pretty ecstatic, and she's done nothing but get better since. So I'm really happy with her, and she has been great, and all due to Cornerstone.
Man, and the work you put in, and just being a follower of the process. Like you
Yeah,
said, you've used the word process a couple of times, and I think the people that understand that it is a process, like, just go
absolutely is.
through it. It will turn you out a good dog in the
Yeah,
end if you just do it. You're gonna face challenges. That happens. That's going to happen along the way. Don't quit when you face challenges. Keep going through the process, and it works out. That's an incredible story. I mean, an incredible first hunt, 15
Yeah.
birds, and the first one. I mean, the relief you get, because I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing about this dog training journey. I mean, it's almost a gamble in a sense. Like, it's going to work. We know it's going to work out, but you're looking at 1 to 2 years before you know if this thing ever works out like you want it to or
Right.
not.
Yeah.
So
It absolutely
it's
is. And
a faith journey too. It takes
it is.
faith in the process.
It is. And I mean, there's more than just birds to it. It's about being outdoors and spending time. Um, and if I couldn't go hunt my dogs, I would still enjoy being outside training with them. It gets me outside, gets me active, things like that. So, obviously the birds are the icing on the top. And getting to watch that dog perform, I still think about it, and I tell my wife the first few hunts I took her out there and she was fine, and I'd send her after a bird and she'd come back, and I'd send her after a bird and she'd come back and it's like 45 degrees out and she's sitting over there just shaking it as fast as she can shake. And I'm like, I don't know if she's cold or, this is my first dog. I'm like, I don't know if she's cold or what the problem is, but she will just trim her. And so I got to looking around and it was just, obviously, it was just adrenaline. She was full of adrenaline. She just wanted to go. So I was telling my wife about this. And then she was like, are you sure she's not cold? And I'm like, no, this is adrenaline. Like, this girl is ready. So we went to a hunt test and she went with me. And I pulled that dog out of the truck and she was trimmering just as fast as she could trim her. And it was, it was 70 degrees or something. And my wife seen it and she's like, holy cow, like, she really does. I'm like, yeah, like, she loves it. And it's funny to watch how dogs learn and how they do that. If I walk out in the garage at 4:00 in the morning, that it's amazing how fast they pop up because they know, hey, it's way too early for me to be waking up. We must be going hunting. And they pick up on that type of stuff. And it's amazing how quick dogs learn and how they are able to distinguish that type of stuff. And I mean,
It truly is. I love it, man. And I love seeing the dogs win. I love seeing handlers win, and it's just incredible.
yeah,
So y'all have had years of great hunting since, and you got another dog you've trained in the
yeah,
process. What does life look like now for you guys? I know you've got a family. Y'all are busy.
yeah,
Is the family involved with training at all, or
yeah.
is it kind of something you do? How does all that
Yeah,
go
so,
for you
I mean,
guys?
mainly it's me doing the training and stuff, but, my boys, they're 8 and 6 years old. They are outdoorsmen through and through. They live down at the pond. We're lucky to live here on 80 acres, mostly
Wow.
farm ground, but we have about 20 to 25 acres of hay and grass, with about a 2.5, 3 acre pond. So, the kids are spoiled rotten. They live down at the pond. They're big fishermen, stuff like that, and they've caught more 7, 8 pound bass than I could ever dream of. So, and the amazing thing is they do it on hot dogs. I keep joking that they have these fish trained, that I take these bait casters and fish with these fancy baits and stuff, and I can't catch a single one. But they'll go down there and catch an 8 pound bass on a hot dog like it's nothing. So, but
Wow.
they're outdoorsmen. They're outside through and through. It's nothing for. When I'm out training, sometimes they'll walk up and they want to run the dog and do stuff, and so family is involved. The dogs are the best baseball retrievers ever. The kids enjoy hitting golf balls, and so they sit the dogs on place and they'll sit out there for half hour to an hour hitting golf balls, and the dogs go pick them up for 'em. They don't have to walk
That's
out there.
awesome.
So it's things like that, but they're definitely involved, and um, we love our dogs dearly. Absolutely.
Oh man, that's so cool. Life is so
Yeah.
full.
Yeah.
Every moment matters. It's so beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that.
And this year was the first time I've got to take my boys on their first duck hunt. So,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
they've been with me, just sitting in the blind and stuff. But this year they got to go and took my oldest on first day. We seen a lot of birds. We just didn't get anything in close enough for him to be able to fire a shot. But So we didn't get anything that day. So the second day, I packed up my youngest and took him out to a little pond that I knew about, and I was hoping that we could get something in there. And boy, the wood ducks start coming hot and heavy early, and got one right in there, right in front of him, and he jumped up, and the smile on his face when he fired that gun. And I'm not sure how many of them he hit, but he told me he killed 2 out of the 4. So, uh, and I know he was right on him, so maybe it was him, but just getting to spend that time, and I know there's many, many years ahead of me sharing the blind with both of them and the dogs, and I know I'm really looking forward to it, and I know they are too.
I love that, man. And that's what it's about too, not just, way we say it at Retriever Training Supply is build unforgettable moments with your retriever.
Right.
But those moments really involve family. They
Yep.
involve other people, friends, family, the whole 9 yards. And this is, I mean, like you said, your boys are blessed to have this because, like, I mean, to have well-trained dogs, no, not everybody gets that. And to have that experience to where when we go hunting, we've got a dog that picks it up because, you dad did a good job training, you're kind of modeling the way. And one of our hopes too is that in producing those good dogs is will inspire future generations to do the same. And, applaud you for doing that because you clearly are inspiring them to do that. That's something they're probably going to want to carry on one day when it makes sense. At this point, they're taking it all in, but one of these days it's about, yeah, I've got to have a dog too. And then it's gonna be their
Absolutely.
turn to pick up the torch and start training a dog themselves.
Yeah.
That's gonna be cool.
I'm excited about it. Yeah. What my oldest, he wants to, when he grows up, he wants to be a conservation officer with a canine.
Wow.
And
Oh,
so
really?
I
Wow.
thought, that would be awesome to be able to be a part of. And he's joined the 4-H. He runs my black dog in 4-H, dog obedience and agility. So he's involved there and does stuff with her and stuff. So like I said, it's being able to carry on generations. I know my wife's uncle. Uh, he didn't have no kids or nothing like that. So when I was able to join him on the hunt and stuff, I know it probably really sparked his eye because now he's got somebody that he can count on to go hunting with and pass his legacy of hunting on to, and now his great nephews are going to be able to enjoy that as well. So it's like you said, it's a family aspect, dogs, CGA, everything. It's all about family and community and building things together.
Man, that's what it's about, and maybe everybody listening, let's try to take someone new hunting. I think back to early
Absolutely.
I was young in school, and I had a buddy who didn't hunt, but he was interested in it, so we, in fact, I think we went up to a deer hunt in Kentucky, if I remember correctly, and, now he's hooked now. This was we were very young. My dad encouraged his dad brought them along, and they're hooked on hunting now. They've been hunting for years, and now they're into waterfowl and everything too, and it's,
Yeah.
he even trained dogs with me for a little while. It's so just getting that one hunt is oftentimes all it takes to get
All it
someone
takes.
hooked for life.
One hunt. Yeah, I have a guy I work with, and he he went hunting with me one year. He's like, "Hey, I might go on a waterfowl hunt with you," and I took him out there, and we had a really nice hunt, killed a handful of birds and stuff, and I think that next spring he was looking for a yellow lab. He was like, "Man, that was awesome," you know? And so he found
Wow.
one, and I was like, "Hey, send her over. I'll help train her up." And so we got her worked up and stuff, and now he just got a puppy. So
Wow.
I got her every other day when he's at work, and so we're working through her. So
Oh man, I love that. Well, continuing the legacy, that's what it's
yeah,
about, and helping other people win and just having a good time. But man, Chad, this has been an amazing podcast. I feel like you've shared just so many like if people will take what you said and listen to that, like that's going to make a big difference for them. It just reminds me of some lessons that are just so crucial for us to all learn and to remember, even for myself, to make sure we're remembering those things. Slow down, enjoy it, have fun. Don't
absolutely,
rush the process. Trust the process. All these different nuggets that you shared are just fantastic. I can't even believe we're coming up on time here. I would love just to know, like, if you think back, maybe one more piece of advice, or maybe not even a piece of advice, just something you would encourage people to do. Like, hey, you're talking to somebody that's never done this before. They have the interest. Like, they're maybe on the edge. I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't know if I can train my dog. What would you encourage someone with that's in that position that just was asking you for advice?
Well, I'd tell them to take the leap. You know, obviously I was in their same position. I had the fear of failure, and you know, there's no reason to be afraid of failure. That's part of the process, as we said earlier. You know, you're gonna fail, and there's gonna be times you're gonna fail. But if you trust the program and you trust the process and you really enjoy it, you're gonna make your way through it, and you're gonna end up with a dog that you can really enjoy. And, you know, if you a lot of people think that they need 7 days a week to train a dog or 6 days a week, and CGA breaks it down really nice, but if you can get out with that dog 2, 3 days a week and, you know, training and get good quality reps, it doesn't take a lot to make a good, successful dog. And, um, you know, like I said, my favorite thing that I always go back to is trust the process. I know it can get annoying saying it and stuff, but you have to trust the process that you have built, that you have put in the work. And when you do that, success will arrive and you will be happy with the dog that you have put in front of you. So you just got to take that leap, buy CGA, follow the program. The community is going to be there for you. I know Josh, Barton, whoever, they're all going to be there if you run into a problem. And everybody's here to help each other out. And that's one thing I love about the dog world. You know, everybody is always going to help everybody. Everybody wants to see the dog win. You know, even when you go to hunt tests or anything like that, it's about the dog. People want to see the dog succeed, and there's nothing better.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for sharing that, and maybe we'll have to do a follow-up sometime. I know we didn't get to talk about hunting tests or anything like that, but I would
Yeah,
love to talk about that, maybe in the future with you on one. And just thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing, and I appreciate you, man. Been a
yeah,
fantastic episode.
absolutely. I appreciate it, and uh, look forward to the next time.
Thanks for listening to the Build From Here podcast. To learn more about retriever training or our podcast, visit cornerstonegundogacademy.com/podcast.